Alright, this is my third take. Hopefully it's going to be the good one. So this video is going to be titled Unveiling the Mystery of the Anti-Equal Round. What a creative title, huh? Alright, so I've watched a lot of CSGO in my life. A lot. Kind of feel sad saying that. But and from my playing experience, I can say that there are a lot of ways of playing anti-ecos, and there are good ways and bad ways. So I'll go over every single strategy that you can employ whenever you're facing an eco or forced buy, and I'll go over pros and cons. So first of all, running your default, right? That's like the mainstream strategy against anti-eco. Just run your default, play passive. So first of all, how should you run your default? Passively. So if you want to spread out 1-1-1-1 on map like cash, everybody should be in the spots where they won't get overwhelmed, right? So your squeaky player has to be in a spot where he can get help from his teammate if the CTs end up pushing squeaky. The A-main player has to be in a spot where he can fall back after he's gained information. The mid player has to be in a spot where he can get pop flashed. The B player has to be in a spot where he can't get pop flashed, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, actually that's the only thing. Second thing is you gotta take your default against anti-ecos the same way you would take your default against gun rounds. You still want to take map control. You still want to take mid control on your default. Now the pro and cons. A big positive is that nobody dies and you waste the CT's utility because you're playing so passive, right? You make them waste their flashes early, so whenever you do end up taking something, they don't really have anything to counter you with. That's a pro. That's a good positive. A negative is, and I'll make another video about how to play force buys. A negative is once you've gone into uh, your mid control, right? After 30 or 40 seconds, then your players at the extremity are isolated completely, and they can't get help now. So if they get pushed off of something, then you completely lost that area of the map, which is pretty bad. Because you're opening yourselves to getting stacked. Basically, you never want to give up information without getting useful information. Uh, so if you lose a main control, even if you take mid control, that ain't enough because you don't know if they're stacked up A. At that point, you gotta make a choice where you really the rounds you won't be able to switch up strategy mid round. So if you lose a main control, it's either we gotta retake it or we go or we go B, because there won't be enough time after you've taken mid control to say, all right, let's retake A. Oh fuck, there's nobody here. Oh, I don't really want to get into site. Let's go back B. You can't do that. You gotta make a choice. So you're basically taking a risk. That's not something you want to do whenever you do your default. Usually on gun rounds you want to have enough information, because the thing is you gotta take anti-eco rounds as the same way you take a gun round if you're up 9-0 against someone. Like at some point the opposite team's gonna have to make a decision when they keep losing gun rounds on CT side. They'll need to play aggressive or stack something. So that's to me the best analogy. It's not really an analogy, but the best comparison I can make. Take an anti-eco the same way you would a round where the CTs really don't know what to do because they can't stop you. Because they can't stop your default. So then the big negative about defaulting is exactly what I just said. Once you take mid control, your extremity players are fucked. They're by themselves, and you're exposing yourself to losing map control. A lot of map control, and basically once the CTs have gained that, they can make their decision making has a higher chance of working out. Wait, that doesn't work. The decisions they make has a higher chance of working out because they have some information, whereas you don't. you know that maybe one or two guys were in A main. You don't know if the remaining three players are in fucking B, or if they're or if they're like stacked up in A side and two truck or something, right? So you don't know any of that. Okay, that's the biggest negative I have with default. Um, Obviously, the other is that since you're playing so passive at the extremity, if the CTs end up doing a B main push and an A main push at the same time, which is something I'd recommend doing, say they have 3A or 2A and 3B or the opposite, and they take mid control, I mean they take B and A, well this guy has to fall off once he sees multiple people, right? Can I jump? I'll have to fall off. You can play whatever you want. Alright, yo, I saw two people pushing B main. Okay, and then this guy in A main. Oh fuck, dude, I saw two people pushing A main. Well, then you gotta fucking make a decision, right? You got mid control, obviously. At that point, whoever's calling is gonna say, "Oh, let's take mid." You've taken mid control, but what do we do now? Because we've given up superior positioning to the CTs, so you're kind of fucked. Um, you can group up and use mollies to flush out checkers to take A main control, which isn't bad. But then again, if the CTs have left it, well, you've lost a molly and a bunch of flashes, and you've given up that you're in A main. At that point, you don't have time to go back, so the CTs will be able to rotate very quickly and have all 5 players there. Alright, enough talk about defaulting. Second way of playing is having a scout. Now, someone scouting is always, I don't mean the gun, obviously. Usually a scout doesn't help that much, because even if he has a player supporting him, like using flash, like I don't know, flashing for him, maybe mollying something or smoking something off for him, the risk reward isn't good enough for me. For me, it really isn't. So if your scout is at B, and he smokes B main, and then he mollies close checkers, and his teammate ball flashes him in checkers and mollies back at checkers, even if he's cleared checkers right here, yo, checkers cleared. You want this guy to push inside, right? So not only is he open to vent flank at any time, he's also open to someone being right up here, someone right up here, and multiple people inside. So whenever he pushes, most of the time what's gonna happen, if you run the situation 100 times, I'd say, and this is solely against force buys, against pistol buys, like pistol armor buys. About 10% of the time, he'll see a stack. 10% of the time, he won't say anything. So the CT just stack the other side, and the remaining 80% of the time is going to be divided by either he gets a kill or two, or gets traded immediately, or he gets wrecked by a pop flash, or whatever the case may be. So that pretty much renders the fucking scouting ineffective. And you use mollies to take something, but it's still not, like, it's pretty much useless mollies to me. Yeah, you've taken checkers control, but with it you can't do anything else because he's by himself, so not great. Alright, that's enough about scouting. And obviously the one thing about scouting is the bulk of the team has to be together at the opposite side, or no, at the opposite side, because the goal of scouting is, if he does see a stack, well, you guys can push A fast enough where in time before the CTs can rotate off of B to A. So yeah, what else do I gotta say? I'm trying to make this like under 15 minutes. Alright, next point is about playing 4-1s, and 4-1s to me is probably the second better thing to do next to doing a 3-2, which I'll explain later. 4-1s are really good because you have one guy watching your flank passively somewhere, right? And you get into a full execute with mollies. So you always want to go to a site where you can molly everything off fairly easily. So B on map like Cache, even A would be fine, but I'd probably say B's the easier side to do this. So 2 people would be dodging flashes, 2 people would be holding B push for a couple, like I'd probably say 20 seconds, and then once you've done that and they haven't pushed forward, then you smoke cross. Yeah, you smoke cross, you molly close checkers, you molly back at checkers, you pop flash checkers, 2 people or 3 people run up right here. Someone posts on vents, and then the other 2 clear checkers. Alright, checkers, I mean, they won't even have to run there because it's going to be mollied. So they clear it. Alright, checkers clear. I'm posted vent, and the other 2 are just waiting there, and they themselves can just use their mollies there as well, right? So you can either do that in one instance, like so molly everything off. By that I mean you molly back checkers, close checkers, default, and try box. You smoke CT, and you all do that at once, or you can do it in 2 times basically. The first execute is going to be checkers execute, and the second one is going to be side execute. So I don't see a lot of negatives. To me, the biggest negative is quick flanks. You can get flanked fairly easily, because you're like the lone player can't play that aggressive, so he can't really watch vent flank. He'll be playing an angle like right here. So you're exposed to maybe 2 people running into vents and fucking you in the ass. If for some reason you whiff your shots and like this guy gets 2 kills, right? Say 2 of your teammates die, then your 3rd and 4th player, your last 2 players, are gonna have to pick up the slack and get inside and clear everything off. So you're opening yourself to the vent flank. Okay, that's the biggest negative. It's not something that should happen. I think everything else is great. Even if they're stacked, it doesn't matter. You're mollying everything out. You've got the upper hand in every single fight you take. It should be fairly straightforward. Now I'll just give away 2 ways of playing anti-ecos that I dislike very much. First one, contact push. I disagree with it. On some maps you can get away with it if you have an AWPer somewhere. If you have an AWPer, but you can't really contact push somewhere like perfectly. They're very limited of sites. If you take the entire map pool, where a contact push with an AWPer is that effective against a foreseeable stack, because at some point people are going to have to push into crossfires. Okay, so I dislike contact pushing, and I dislike 5-man rushes for a very easy reason. You're gonna end up running into 50-50, not a 50-50 chance, but you can run it easily into stacks. You're not doing an execute, so you're using low utility, or even if you're not, I'll take that back. You can do a full execute with 5 people, but the thing is, it's not methodical enough. Usually a 5-man push, to where you can molly everything off and just wait out the mollies. If you do that, then it probably becomes just a 4-1. But I dislike 5 people pushing together fast early in the round, is what I'm saying, with low utility. I dislike that. Alright, so 15 minutes, I got 1:30. Let's do it! The last way of playing anti-eco, to me, that's the best, is playing a 3-2. So it's basically something I would do. It's kind of like a default without waiting, without the first 30 seconds being just people holding angles. It's going straight into your mid execute with 3 people, and then the remaining 2 players are either A or B, and you've made your mind up right at the beginning of the round. You know, alright, we're splitting mid to B right here unless something crazy happens at B. And the thing is, you have enough players at the extremity where the only way they both die really is if there's a stack at that side. So if they do see 4 people or 3 people rushing with a pop flash, so they can assume there's 4 people, or if they see 3 people, it's either they kill 2, and then you guys can come off a vent and just clean up and you know, smoke CT and climb the bomb and GG. Or they'll spot a lot of people, they'll both die, maybe get a 2-for-2 or something, or 3-for-2, and you'll know that there's only 1 player remaining, and everybody's grouped up, and you've already taken some map control, so you can either cut off rotates or just go fast to the opposite side. So yeah, that's basically it. I like having two people because one guy can always play anti-flash, and then the other guy can pick the angle, and at the same time you have enough utility, you two together, to take important areas of the map like checkers, and you're gonna end up using that utility, right? So checkers control is gonna be useful because you're gonna split mid to B. It's not like having a scout which is gonna scouting B site. You actually have a preconceived idea you enter the round with, which is, all right, we're gonna go mid to A or mid to B. And again, I would go spots where I can flush out angles with a molly. So I would probably not go mid to A. I'd go mid to B most of the time, or I would do a 4-1 at A if I wanted to go A. Because coming from highway isn't that great, to be fair. You can't really molly spots from highway. You can molly quad, like you can molly default to a point, but and you can molly forklift as well, I guess. But whoever's gonna molly forklift, it's either gonna be by himself or an awkward spot, because you can't have two people squeaky and two people A main. It's either two A main or two squeaky, meaning that the other spot isn't being watched. So there's always that one thing that's gonna bug you. Whereas whenever you're pushing B, there isn't that one spot that you can't be at. You've got everything. You've got checkers control. That's it. Checkers and B main. It's not like if you go mid to A, you won't be able to have squeaky and A main on an anti-eco, because you don't want to do a 1-1-3. That just be defaulting. I don't want that. So 3-2, big fan of it. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna make a video about how to play force buys and the different types of force buys you can do, and strategies that you can employ. That's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, comment below. If you've got any requests, I can do pretty much anything regarding CSGO, obviously. Sexually, I'm not that good. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.